All right, Adam Caplan. We like to refer to him as the third member of the NWO. And, of course, he joins us on a special Happy Hour Friday. He's not typically here on Happy Hour Friday. What's going on, Adam?
Mike, good to talk to you. Yeah, I was participating in Mid-Penn Bank's celebrity golf tournament on Thursday. A great job by those people. And for breast cancer awareness, kudos to those people. Rory Retrieve, the president of Mid-Penn Bank, and all the people there. And it was great. This is held in Hershey, PA, and also the golf was held in Harrisburg. But it was great. It was great to see everyone. Saw Ron Jaworski there. Many former Eagles going back to the 70s. It was pretty great event, and that's what I did in a very hot Thursday. So here I am, back on a Friday, which I was last season.
Yes, absolutely. Happy Hour Friday. He is back. So obviously, yesterday you missed all the hoopla over what Adam Schefter had to say, which was watch Philadelphia when it comes to a Deshaun Watson trade. He said, quote, "There is no team out there better positioned and better armed to go trade for Deshaun Watson than the Philadelphia Eagles." He mentioned the draft capital, that they have depth at certain positions, that they are in the NFC conference. All of those factors. Mike Tannenbaum furthered it by saying it's no secret that the Eagles have interest in Deshaun Watson. So, Adam Caplan, I ask you, what do we make of the persistent Deshaun Watson and Eagle rumors?
Yeah, so Mike, let me bring it back to mid-March. We reported on we were quoted from Inside the Birds. We had heard before the off-the-field allegations came to the surface that the Eagles had interest in Deshaun Watson. We've been saying periodically throughout the several months here that they've been monitoring the situation. Jeff Moshe and I have been reporting that repeatedly, really. We probably mentioned it like every 3 or 4 shows that they're monitoring the situation. But there's been nothing new. There's really nothing new other than to say this. We know for a fact the Eagles still are monitoring, still have interest. But they have company. We're told that the Eagles are not the only team. I know the Panthers backed off. They made the trade for Darnold. We reported on Inside the Birds first that they were not comfortable with the information that was out there after the situation surfaced. The allegations. I would tell you that I would have bet the house it was going to be Eagles versus the Panthers in free agency to get Watson. Now the question is going forward here. A couple things: are the Texans willing to trade him? Obviously they are. He wants out. Watson did not report their offseason program. This is going to be a divorce at some point. That's my feeling. The question is, will he be dealt this year or next year? Their issue is holding this up. Is he going to be suspended or not? Is he going to be cleared to play this season or to report? We know he doesn't. He probably won't report to training camp. That seems to be the indication. When they report the Texans do on the 27th, the first practice should be the 28th. The question is the league going to clear him to play? Will a suspension be coming down? Theoretically, you would think there would be, but we don't know that for a fact. Will he go on the commissioner's exempt list? That would take him off the field as a paid leave. So there's so many questions here. And by the way, with paid leave, the question would be, would he be able to be paid if he doesn't show up to training camp first and then be taken off the field with a paid leave? We just don't know these answers to these questions, but we do know the Eagles have had interest. And it's kind of what we know. It's complicated. It's my 21 years, Mike, of covering the National Football League. This is one of the most unique situations I could ever remember.
I imagine.
And the Eagles just happen to have interest in this player. I can't say for sure the Eagles would have gotten him because I know the Panthers really liked Deshaun Watson to start free agency. As we said, they moved off of him and traded for Sam Darnold. But it doesn't leave a lot of teams vying for him. But when you look at it, yeah, sure, the Eagles have 2 first-round picks now for next year. And most likely, if Carson Wentz doesn't get hurt, they're going to have a 3rd pick. Now, the question then would be, to finish this off before we move on to other subjects, is what would the Texans want for Watson? We knew, we've said this on our show, that we feel like it was going to be, before the off-the-field allegations came to the surface, would be a minimum of 3 first-round picks. It could have been more, by the way, maybe 1 or 2 starters. Because if you look at it, Mike, first of all, what NFL team has 3 first-round picks? Oh, the Eagles do. How many of them in the future would be high first-round picks? The Raiders learned this lesson when they traded away Khalil Mack. They thought the Bears would be bad. in 2018. They weren't. They went in the division in 2018, the NFC North. So if you're gonna trade Deshaun Watson, you better get really good first round picks. Well, the Colts first round pick, if it is going to be coming from the Colts next year because of the Carson Wentz trade, that won't be a very good first round pick. Well, the Eagles most likely next year will have a very good first round pick. We know that. So, and then we have the Dolphins first round pick, which theoretically probably won't be very high. At worst, it's probably going to be in the middle. But the Texans have to look at this situation. Do they have a ton of leverage here because of his off-the-field allegations? So we're talking about Watson here. So there's a lot to unpack, Mike. It's really complicated. It's very, very unique. But the Eagles clearly, of all the teams that need quarterback for next season, Denver is unsettled. Miami, they're a sleeper team for this because of there are a lot of people around the league wonder if Tua's a future quarterback for the Dolphins. I know they drafted him 5th overall last year, but we'll have to see how he plays this season. Derek Carr's future. He's signed for 2 seasons, but there's no guaranteed money left. And I know John Gruden likes him, but you have to see what happens there. And is there a sleeper team? We'll have to see, but it's really a fascinating situation.
It really is. Let me ask you this question. Let's say, and you said it, there is no timeline. But let's say they made a trade for Deshaun Watson before the season. Does that change
the Eagle?
Yes.
The Eagle.
Does that change the expectations of this year's team?
Hell yeah. Oh, are you kidding? Well, there's no question about it. Because right now there's tremendous uncertainty of how Jalen Hurts would play. Played in 5 games, started 4. Very uneven. Showed some upside against Arizona, where I was very impressed with the way that he handled himself, taking a safety on the first series. Really brought the team back. Did well enough in that game for them to win, but their defense collapsed in that game, as you know. The question then would be, would he elevate the level of play of the team on offense? The answer would be obviously. He had the best year of his career, wasn't even close. 2017. Watson was terrific. He's a gamer. He's a leader. I know off the field you have some significant questions.
Big time.
There's no doubt. You have to wonder, even if a team trades for him, can you trust him off the field for the future? That's the other part of this situation. You just don't know.
The trust is a good point.
Well, I'm sorry?
The trust is a good point because I was talking earlier with someone who covers the Phillies about the reaction that Herrera has been getting.
Yeah.
Not much. Like it lasted maybe his first at bat. He got a couple boos, and then after that, it kind of – so it's almost like the backlash you think is going to be there, but the Herrera stuff really did not last very long, and Herrera is just a mid-level player.
Right. Now with Watson, see, the complication of the Watson situation is if you followed his career, he does really, really good charity work. Really great stuff. And then you have what's been alleged, because you do wonder, who is Deshaun Watson as a person? Is the guy that's tremendously charitable, or is he the guy that has got a minimum of 22 allegations against him,
right,
for sexual harassment and otherwise? So it's a tough situation to kind of put together.
Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast. The new podcast is dropping. It dropped yesterday, I should say. And Eagles training camp battles, 2 Tuesdays from now. These will start. Some very interesting ones. So, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave. Let's start with those two. Fletcher, still very good. Javon Hargrave, we think might be even better than he was late in the year last year. He had some injury issues. So what else is there? What are you keeping an eye on at that position?
Yeah, the battles are, and this is pretty much the entire defense. It's the first time, and I'd have to go back and research it, but certainly in 2016 is the last time we've seen anything like this. Every backup D tackle job is open. The battle is going to be this. Hassan Ridgeway, who they like, but he's been hurt a lot. Milton Williams, who will mostly be a D tackle, I believe, and play a little bit of defensive end if needed. Marlon Tuipulotu, the rookie, at a 6th-round pick, who the Eagles had a higher grade than a 6th round. They really like him. Raekwon Williams, who they give a pretty significant deals in undrafted free agents. So the battle is going to be who's going to be 3, 4, and 5. Well, that is if they only are going to keep 4 or 5. We don't know that they'll keep at least 4. You have to. Will they keep 5 D tackles? My sense is only 4, because they've shown the willingness to, at times, to bring in Josh Sweat, play him inside a nickel, Brandon Graham move him inside, stuff like that. So they'll be good there. The question is, again, are they going to keep, or who's going to be 3 and 4? We're not going to know that, Mike, for a while. That's a pretty good battle. And this Tui Pelotu, they really like a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting because two of those guys are rookies. So you go with two
Yeah.
rookies behind your two veterans.
Yeah, and Ridgway, I mean, when you say he's not a vested veteran, but he's been here enough, the question is for Sean Ridgway. I just don't. He has not contributed enough to be that guy. We just don't. We don't know now with Sean Ridgway. What is he capable of doing? Because he barely played. You know, he was a fourth round in 2016. Actually, technically, he would be a vested veteran. To correct that, he would be, but he just has not played enough. He was on IR with the Eagles in 19 when they made the trade from the Colts, but he just has not proven anything. So the other thing is, do they sign a veteran to compete? They don't have a vet. When I say a veteran, someone who's done it before. They don't have that guy as a backup.
All right. Defensive end's another interesting one because Brandon Graham, obviously solid. Derek Barnett, still kind of an inconsistent wild card. Josh Sweat, we like his role. But other than that, they brought in Kerrigan. Don't forget that. Yeah. But they made some moves. Jannard Avery, they moved to linebacker. Joe Ostman, they moved to linebacker. So what's the defensive end story that you're keeping an eye on?
Yeah, when we first reported Avery was moving to linebacker, I was a little bit surprised because I really thought that he'd be a perfect 34 outside linebacker. He's got really long arms he is only about between 6 and 6'1". But that's why they think he'd be better off playing linebacker standing up, and that's what he'll be. He'll compete for that strong side linebacker job with Ostman. Ryan Kerrigan will bounce back from DN to linebacker. My guess would be Kerrigan will be more of a DN than a linebacker, but we won't know his exact role until we get probably to mid-August. So the backup jobs at linebacker, which we'll combine every one of them. We know this. Eric Wilson will be a starting linebacker. The Eagles are going to be a nickel defense team. They're not playing base hardly at all. They're going to be mostly nickel. So that means two guys will start. It'll be Eric Wilson absolutely will be a starter. The other one, Alex Singleton, will be on this football team. He probably would be the other guy. I don't know if there's anyone who could challenge him. T.J. Edwards is very limited because he's not a pass coverage guy. Davion Taylor's a project. You mentioned Ostman, who probably won't make the team. If he does, it'll be mostly special teams. Jacoby Stevens is a major project, going from safety to linebacker. He's a long shot to me to make the team. He's got to prove himself in training camp. Sean Bradley should be on the team as a special teamer. He could back up middle linebacker, could also play outside, but he was really drafted to be a special teamer. And Patrick Johnson, who's got pass rush skill, who's a rookie. They won't keep 6. I think to me, they'll keep 5. The backup jobs to me right now would be Bradley, Edwards, Davion Taylor. Davion Taylor will be on special teams. He'll be on every special team because he could flat out fly. He is their fastest special teams player on the Eagles.
All right, I like that breakdown there. Eric Wilson and Alex Singleton, you mentioned, should be the starters at linebacker. Now, if I ask you to pick starters at corner, that might be a little bit more difficult. Darius Slay, we know, and then everything else seemingly is up for grabs. We're still holding out or waiting to see if they bring in a veteran outside corner.
Yeah, well, they want to, and they're going to. But what I would caution people, just like I've been cautioning myself when people close the situation, the season doesn't start till September. You got to keep telling yourself that because you see what I see and the fans see. There's a major hole opposite Darius Slay. Here's what we do know. If it goes like we think it'll go, Maddox will be their slot corner. Slay will be a starting outside corner. They'll either sign Steven Nelson, sign a veteran corner off the street, or they'll trade for a veteran corner. Zach McPherson will compete for the starting outside corner job for now. Kevon Seymour should make it. Michael Jaquette is competing for a job with Josiah Scott and Craig James. James should make it. They're either going to keep 5 or 6 corners, but because we don't know who that guy they're going to add later on at some point, Mike, opposite Slay, it kind of complicates the matter. So Kevon Seymour is the guy to watch out for. We had him on NFL radio as a pretty sharp guy and a great story of overcoming a lot of challenges in his career, particularly with injury. He is the one veteran of those backups. So I'll put him on the roster. So I think it's going to be Slay, Maddox, McPherson, Seymour, and James is 5. If they add the veteran, that's 6. Now, teams typically don't keep 6. Michael Jaquette would be probably the odd man out. Why do I say that? He's a major project. He played good half of one game last season, I was told. It's been a narrative that has been overvalued by the fans. The fans who keep telling me how good he is, they're not talking to people who actually work in the NFL. The Eagles don't, my sources and Jeff's sources would tell us he wasn't really that good. But he's got one thing going for him. He's got length, and that is good. You want to have that. He can run a little bit. Remember, he's a former receiver, so he's a project, and he's got a ways to go.
Interesting. Would you have any interest? Would the team have any interest in like Dre Kirkpatrick, a veteran guy?
We've talked about him. He's one of the few guys out there that would make some sense. Former first rounder of the Bengals, played for the Cardinals. He's out there, but we had checked into it. He wasn't on their radar as of a couple weeks ago. But at some point, I mean, you would think they'd bring him in and work him out just to see where he is physically, but
Right.
We'll see.
All right, safety, because there's some interesting stories here. You got Rodney McLeod, who's coming off a major injury. Anthony Harris, who had a really good year in Minnesota to the point they franchised him and then slipped off last year, and that made him a free agent. Kayvon Wallace, draft choice. Marcus Epps, Andrew Adams coming over from Tampa Bay. So some interesting names at safety.
Yeah, so Rodney McLeod, the key is, will he be on the opening day roster? Meaning, will he be on active PUP, then move to reserve PUP, which means he misses 6 weeks? Or would he be on the 53 and be active? We don't know that. We're not going to know for a while. Anthony Harris, Wallace, Epps will be on the roster. I don't know if Andrew Adams will be for sure. He's more of a fourth safety special teamer, so we'll see. McLeod being on the active roster will come down to really what they think he can do and not do to start the season, because you can't expect him to be himself early on, Mike. Right now, I don't know if they'll add anyone. This one's tough to call because Harris will definitely start. The question is, if McLeod's not ready, who starts, Epps or Wallace? That's, to me, the battle. Who's going to be that third safety? That is going to be the battle in training camp.
Yeah, and the third safety might be very key, as you mentioned. If Rodney McLeod's not ready to go here, they're going to need that third guy to really be a big part of it. So defensively, if they got a corner, what kind of defense is this? Is this still just an average defense?
Well, it depends. It depends on several factors. Is the offense able to carry them? Can they score enough points defensively? Because the scheme is completely different from the wide nine. We're told it's a 180. They're not running wide nine anymore. They're going to be more of a read and react front. That means that there'll be a good run defense. They're going to do a lot of pre-snap disguise to confuse the quarterback to make him hold on to a little bit. That's going to help force turnovers, which we know were a real problem with the Eagles in the secondary. They just didn't force any, hardly any. So it's going to be change. It's going to change. Now, they've got a new coaching staff on defense. It's just the scheme's going to be different. It's going to be fun to watch. They've got a bunch of younger coaches on defense mixing with some veterans. I look forward to seeing this defense, Mike, because it's going to be complete. The wide nine is jumped. That was the first little nugget we had back in February when we were digging into this, is that the wide nine is extinct here with the Eagles, and that I think some people are probably glad to see.
Yeah, and I guess on the wide nine being gone, do we anticipate not seeing as much pressure from the front four guys, which is what Jim Schwartz really said. I don't need to blitz. I'm getting pressure from those guys.
Well, it's a read and react defense, which means they got to hold up against. They just got to hold up. It doesn't mean that they can't rush the passer. It just means that they're not playing the run on the way of the quarterback like they used to. That's what the wide nine is. So we'll see. It's just different. There's a lot we don't know with coverages yet. We're not totally sure with the back end whether it could be cover 2, 3, or 4. That I'm told you got to be careful thinking everything's the same as the Vikings. It won't be. It'll be similar, but there'll be some differences.
He's Adam Caplan. That's a look at the battles at training camp on the Eagles' defensive side of the ball. For a more in-depth conversation, check out the Inside the Birds podcast on the defensive side. It dropped this Thursday morning. Adam's usually on Thursday. That's why I'm in that mode. But it dropped yesterday. A new one is dropping on Monday, every Monday and Thursday. And I'm imagining when camp gets here, you guys will be putting out some news on an expansion of the podcast.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll hear a couple things. A little bit before I get out of here. We actually just released this within the last couple hours. We did a special Inside the Birds TV interview with Todd Hermans. This is one of our favorite ones. We just put it on YouTube and all the other pod platforms. We went through a lot in 25 minutes. I mean, we went through a ton of stuff that we never talked to Todd about before. He's got some great insight. And then we'll give you a little nugget. We haven't announced this, so we'll announce it now. We're doing an interview with Peter King, which will probably drop Tuesday. And we're going over a lot of stuff that I can't wait for everybody to hear that. And then we're going to do a live stream probably leading up to the following week, leading up to the opening of training camp. We'll have more scoops there. So a lot going on with Inside the Birds, Mike.
Yep, and training camp July the 27th, and you can expect plenty on Football at 4 that entire week to get you ready for the start of Eagles camp. Adam Caplan, Inside the Birds, and the Inside the Birds podcast. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, he is a part of Happy Hour Friday today. This Friday, Adam will be back on Thursday in his normal spot next week.